Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I am actually back with a new video, who would have thought? But yeah, as you may have noticed by the title right there, I'm doing something a bit different. I'm deciding to talk about what I watched in the month of May. A lot of these things I wouldn't really get the chance to talk about, so that's why I decided to do a new series where every month I'm going to talk about what I watched in that month, and it gives me a bit more reason to watch more things, so at least I have good things to talk about. And I got plenty to talk about this month. Of course, before I get into it, there will be timestamps for every movie. I will leave like a spoiler section with timestamps as well, so if you don't want to be spoiled about anything in any of those shows or movies I've watched, there's timestamps. Should all be in the description and also should show up in your timeline. One other thing before that, check out my band's single. Should be in the description. It's interlinked. We released it last week. We're really happy about it. We're really eager to get it out too. So check it out. Support us. Make sure, go listen to it, check out my band and everything, that'd be sick. The first thing I want to talk about that I watched last month was Obsession. Obsession, which is a movie that released in theaters only a few weeks ago, actually had its debut back in 2025 at Toronto International Film Festival. But anyways, it's directed by Curry Barker, who's a YouTuber, and the film follows a character named Bear, who's a music store employee who ends up buying a one-wish willow, where they wish for their crush to love them more than anyone else in the world, and things ensue from there. I know I didn't say much there when talking about the movie and what it's about, but I don't want to say too much because there's a lot that happens with that premise. A very simple way to think about this, and look, it's a very simple way, very weird reference, but think about Scared Shrekless, that Gingerbread Man section, where he gets his girlfriend that loves him too much. It's pretty much that, but flipped on its fucking head and turned up to 11. And when I say something like that, I mean that in the best way possible, because obviously this is a monkey paw situation. The whole one wish willow thing where Bear wishes for Nikki to fall in love with him is really a monkey paw situation where you have a wish and then it comes true, but things don't go the way you want them to. And man, they really show that. Also, since I just mentioned Nikki, the actress that plays her, oh my fucking god. Like, honestly, kills it in this role. She is a standout because obviously since he wishes that she loved him more than anyone else in the world, it's like when she gets possessed, it's like some other entity's taken over her. And the way in the movie you see that the flip-flops between the two, where there's certain moments where the real Nikki comes out, and then there's most of the time it's usually the possessed version of herself. The way she flip-flops between the two and the shit she does when she's possessed and stuff, it's fucking nuts. It's nuts. The performances all around from all the actors in this movie are really well done. Obviously, as I said, Nikki's the standout because they're the one with the most fun and interesting role out of the whole movie. But hey, even Andy Richter's in this movie. For the little time he is, he's just a music store owner, but hey, I love Andy Richter. I can't complain. Before getting into spoilers though, the movie looks fantastic. Honestly, watching this movie, the way it has its weird aspect ratio crop, which is a 1:5:1 or something like that, it's a really weird, it's kind of like a 4:3 crop. They kind of do that, and it's a good, the way they do that is obviously they try to make you feel like it's, I don't know, the way the crop is, it's not obviously a 16:9 or your cinema ratio or whatever. They did it in a certain way where the aspect ratio ties into the movie, where it makes you feel really like claustrophobic in a way. It's like characters, they feel claustrophobic but empty at the same time. If you kind of understand what I'm saying, it's a bit weird. You got to watch the movie and you get a kind of feeling out of it with how everything looks, how it's shot. Obviously, the aspect ratio, as I was saying before, but man, to find out that this was made for $750,000 is just insane. And the one thing that is so funny, which I will talk about this movie in particular soon because I did see it this month, the Mandalorian and Grogu is making less money than this movie. Like, I know Obsession's been out for a bit longer, but over the past few weeks that it's been out, more and more people have been seeing it. The box office is going up. Instead of the Mandalorian Grogu, where it's literally just gone like that, Obsession is steadily going up, and I can see why. There was barely any advertising for this movie at all. It's more just a word of mouth thing. Like, I know there was trailers and stuff uploaded on Curry's YouTube channel, but they don't have that many views compared to how well this movie's doing. And I can see why. And if this is the future of like horror filmmaking and filmmaking in general, I'm fucking all in for it. Alright, quick little spoiler talk. This is the spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. So, as I said, shit gets kind of crazy in this movie. Obviously, you don't want to watch the spoilers because I recommend any of you go and watch this movie, but if you already have, cool. But obviously the movie has to develop the characters and everything, so it takes a bit of time to develop the characters and stuff and what happens, and then after Bear cracks the one wish willow and all that happens, Nikki starts acting weird. And he does brush it off. He's like, he kind of just is skeptical about it, but still doesn't 100% like push her away. Like he's hesitant because he's just like, this isn't right. But I think the good thing about this movie, throughout the movie where you see Nikki being possessed and everything and becoming more and more fucked up to the point where she's harming herself and even harming others, like, you get to see Bear question the morality of the situation. And there is a point in this movie where I really think that he kind of just turns to being a villain. And it's when they're in bed together, he's getting up to sneak out. But the entity in Nikki is asleep, but Nikki's actually coming out and telling him, kill me. Anyway, she's laying in bed. That's the moment where it's like, nah, Bear's kind of gone bad. But there is a lot of moral questions in this movie. I know a lot of people on Twitter like to debate this about, like, if Curry's the villain or the victim or whatever. He's not the victim, but he's not particularly the villain either. So I kind of like seeing people discuss it because he's not a villain or a victim. It's more, he had this situation, it's a wish, and it's like, oh, it's always something I've always ever wanted. And then he starts to realize how wrong it is, and that's where things just get fucked up. Especially, the one thing I really want to talk about in this spoiler section is how Nikki just bashes Sarah's fucking face in with a brick. That shit, that was just like, damn. Throughout the whole movie, Nikki just gets more and more disturbing. And I don't really get scared of horror movies or anything. I won't say I was scared. I was more disturbed. And even that's hard for me to feel with a horror movie. But the way Nikki moves around in the shadows and the way she talks and acts, it builds up this real emotion where it's like, fuck, she is something. Like, it's just unnerving. It's unnatural. And especially there is one shot in the movie where Nikki actually walks in reverse but is talking normally. And man, it's something so simple where the character's walking backward but talking normally that makes you realize, nah, something's fucked up. But it works so well. I feel like I'm blabbling too much about this movie, but I will talk about the end where Bear is basically in a really shit situation. This is just after Nikki's killed Sarah in the car because Sarah starts to confess that she has feelings for him. And she comes up and basically bashes her head in the brick like 30 fucking times. And it is brutal. But from there, Bear realizes what a shit situation he's in and whatever, and tries to find a way out. They have a massive argument after everything happens, and they go back to Bear's house, where Nikki's obviously there. They have a massive argument and stuff. But I think just before then, I forgot to mention, Bear goes to Ian, his friend, because he wants him to wish for all this to be undone, like what's happened. But instead he wishes for $1 billion, and he just gets $1 billion. And that's kind of hilarious, but it's one of those moments where it's like, it's funny that he wishes for that, but it makes you go, oh, fuck. And then everything that ensues after that, where Bear gets back to his house and they have an argument and everything goes nuts, because after arguing and everything gone nuts, Ian walks in, gets shot. Like, Nikki just shoots him. And he's gone. It's like, oh, fuck, okay. And then after that, they have a massive argument, and Bear gets himself into the bathroom, and she's panicking, whatever, and then she starts going, okay, we can take a break and whatever, where it's a complete flip. It's like a flip in emotions. But when he's in the bathroom, he takes sleeping pills and stuff. He realizes that, I think he cowards out. He takes a bunch of sleeping pills, and then after about a minute, he's like, no, he tries to throw him up. But when that's happening, she wishes for him to love her as much as she does. And instead of throwing up the tablets or the sleeping pills that he's taken, he walks out and dies. And then, because he dies, all the wishes are gone. Nikki's back to her normal self, and he's just fucking shocked. And that's how the movie ends. It is fucked up, but brilliant. I feel like I explained that ending for too long, but to say I love this movie is an understatement. The more I think about it, the more I like this movie. The more I really like this movie, because I was originally thinking like a 9 out of 10. I'm like, yeah, this is really good. The more I think about it, it's a 10 out of 10. I'm sorry to say. It is a fantastic movie, easily the best movie of the year so far, because I haven't been watching many movies this year. There hasn't been much to watch because there's genuinely been nothing I've been excited for so far. There's movies coming out later this year that I'm looking forward to, but this year so far? Nah. And this movie came out of nowhere and has been sweeping, and for good reason, because it is excellent. Since I've done talking about Obsession, the next thing I watched was Spider-Noir, which is on Amazon Prime. Spider-Noir is a recently released Amazon Prime show starring Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly, who's a 1930s detective who's been rough ever since his wife died 5 years ago, where he finally decides to become the Spider again to face off against some superpowered foes. Okay, let's be real, that explanation is very simple, but that's pretty much what this show's about, and I know there was a lot of hype of Spider-Noir, and it's good. I don't think it's as great as what everyone's saying it is, like 98% is a bit far, but it's a good show. It is a breath of fresh air, and especially from a guy that isn't really a big Nick Cage fan, it's a good show. Especially after getting the final season of The Boys where people were a bit unsatisfied with that finale, getting a show now like Spider-Noir where people are really enjoying it, it's a breath of fresh air. It's a good show. The cast all around were actually pretty good in this show, especially Brendan Gleeson as Silvermane, the main crime boss in this movie. Show, sorry. Why did I say movie? Show. In the main show, Brendan Gleeson plays Silvermane, and he is really good in his role, and he has a big presence in this show. Even as I said, I don't really like Nick Cage, but he does well as the Spider, or Ben Reilly. He's good as his character. Can't remember the other actors in this movie. Why do I keep saying movie? I can't remember the other actors in this show, but they all do a good job. And look, even though I'm talking about the actors and stuff, I think the main highlight for me in this show is how it looks. Everything looks excellent. I did watch the colored version. I didn't watch black and white. I don't know why. I probably should have watched black and white. I reckon it would probably look better in black and white. But even in color, this show looks really nice. There are a couple of things here and there, some CG effects and stuff that really don't look great. And look, that could have been a bit better considering it's like $50 million budget per episode. But it's still a good looking show overall. I can watch this show and go, yeah, that looks good. They really capture that 1930s like time frame really well. And I guess, look, I'm a fucking cod shell, but it makes me think of Shadows of Evil because it obviously takes place in the 30s as well. But it gives me those kind of vibes, and that's a good thing because it's a really stylistic kind of look, and I think this show does that well. I honestly don't really have too much to talk about with this show because it wasn't the most interesting thing to me, and even my next thing I'll watch as well, I don't really have too much to say about it, but I did watch the whole show in about 2 days because it all released at once, which, thank God. I don't know why Amazon loves releasing episode per episode, but with Spider-Noir, they released everything at once, the whole season at once, and it was good to watch all 8 episodes back to back because you really got to go, okay, this is going on, and then you see this, and then you see that, and you actually get to see the whole season progress all at once instead of waiting every week and half forgetting what happens. But instead with this, it's like you can go one episode to the next until you finish the season, and it's good. I will say, the only real big gripe I have with this show when watching it is I wasn't really a big fan of Megawatt. I know he's meant to be very theatrical and over the top and stuff, but I feel like there isn't too much of the character. It's kind of boring compared to the other characters where you have Sandman and the other guy. I can't remember the other guy's name, I'm sorry, but like the other two villains that work for Silvermane are much better than Megawatt, because Megawatt's just kind of one note and boring. I know people might like him because he can be entertaining, but besides from that one whole gimmick where he's very theatrical and over the top, there's nothing else to the character. It's one note. The other characters have a lot more depth, especially Sandman, which is Flip Marko. He has a lot more depth since he's got a whole like relationship thing going on and fighting his other side where he more uses his powers, like the more likely he's going to die and things like that. And that stuff's interesting. That stuff's really interesting, and the way it all wraps up is good. But it's just, yeah, characters like Megawatt I don't really care about. And speaking about that, I actually don't really like Ben Reilly's secretary. She's okay, but I found in some episodes she just got a bit annoying. Much better later in the show, I'll give credit. But it's just like, earlier in the show, she kind of just came off as a bit annoying. But look, overall, Spider-Noir, honestly, a thumbs up. Like, I gave Obsession like a 10 out of 10, which was genuinely fantastic. But Spider-Noir, honestly, I'd probably give it something like a 7 out of 10 because it's still really enjoyable. It's still a good show. It looks fantastic. But there are some things that I'm not a big fan of. But overall, I'll definitely watch it again.
I just want to live. Is that so wrong? Why doesn't anybody else want that?
Iron Lung is a 2026 horror sci-fi movie directed by Mark Hamill himself, which the movie is an adaptation of the game, where they send Markiplier down in a small submarine to explore the Ocean of Blood, which is known as the Desolate Moon. You know what? I did not expect to enjoy a movie like this, like especially like, there's still a rap around YouTuber movies, let's be real, but I liked it. I don't really have much to say about this. I had a lot more to say about Spider-Noir compared to this. Like, I literally watched this last night after getting back from watching Obsession. So, going from Obsession to this, I was kind of just like, I was watching it, and I'm like, yeah, it's good, but nothing I'd really rave about. But yeah, Iron Lung's on digital, it's been on YouTube, so you can basically rent it or buy it on YouTube, so that's why I watch it when I go home. But this movie just really follows Markiplier the whole time in a submarine, and man can act. He does a good job. There's a lot of sci-fi elements brought into the movie later on, where things get worse and worse as, like, the submarine starts fucking up, started getting leaks and all that, and all this. I'm not really going to spoil it. There's not really too much. I'm not really going to talk about spoilers or anything, because I don't have too much to say about this movie, but considering that I think this was mostly self-funded by Markiplier, I'm pretty sure. Pretty solid job, honestly. Like, there's been much worse YouTuber movies. I still haven't watched Shelby Oaks, so I can't really say anything about that, because I know that was out in movies. And I did say when I went to the movies last night to watch Obsession, that this was still playing in movies, but obviously it's on digital, so I ended up watching it at home, because I didn't want to watch another movie when I was out, because I wouldn't have got home till fuck knows when. But no, Iron Lung's one of those movies where it just takes place in the one singular location, and for that, it's pretty solid. I know some people don't like this movie, and that's completely fine, but look, from what I've heard about the games, I'd probably prefer this over the game. I haven't played the game or anything like that. I've heard little things about it, but they make it seem somewhat interesting in the movie. Like, the whole story in this movie is a lot more interesting than what I've seen from the games. I don't know too much about the games, so I won't say too much. But as I said, I don't really have much to say about this movie, because I was kind of just left thinking about Obsession when I was watching this movie, I'm going to be real. So, I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10. Mortal Kombat 2 was another movie I saw in the month of May, directed by Simon McQuaid. Follows a character being Johnny Cage, who's played by Carl Urban, where Johnny Cage, throughout the events of the movie, ends up joining the other fighters to protect Earthrealm from Shao Kahn. And I gotta say, for a sequel to that Mortal Kombat movie from 2021, it's better than that movie. I really enjoyed this. The thing I really enjoy about this movie in particular is that it doesn't take itself too seriously at all. It knows what it is, and it sticks to that. It sticks pretty well to the games, a lot more than the first movie did. Like, I feel like with movies like this, there isn't really much to spoil anyways, because you kind of know how it goes. The good guys are going to win in the end, yada yada yada. There are some things I might slightly spoil, but there's not really too much to spoil in this movie, because you know what's going to happen. You know that the good guys are going to win in the end, that Shao Kahn's going to lose and all that. So, yeah, what's there to spoil at that point besides from, like, a character death? But yeah, watching this movie, I was a bit worried with how Carl Urban would do as Johnny Cage, since I think he's too old for the role. I still kind of think that after watching this movie, but man, he does a good job. Like, it's a different take on the character. It's not the same character as he is in the games, where he's a Hollywood superstar and he gets put into Mortal Kombat and whatever. This is more of a different take, where Johnny Cage is a washed up movie star and he's older and he's not really getting roles in anything. And then he gets put up to the task of helping defend Earthrealm from Shao Kahn. And this movie does that well. All the characters you know from the first movie come back, even Cole Young, but I will talk more about Cole Young afterwards, because I actually enjoy Cole Young more in this movie than I did in the first movie, where Cole Young was the main focus in the first movie. But I think overall, everything is better in this movie compared to the first movie, because the first movie doesn't even have Mortal Kombat in the first place. It's not a tournament, you don't have any of that shit. It's just random fighting. But in this movie, the whole movie is about a tournament where if Shao Kahn and Outworld win and all that, they get to take over Earthrealm. That's what this whole movie is about. And I like that. They took a lot more from the games that the first movie didn't. And there's characters that come back like Kano. And Kano's fucking funny. I don't care what anyone says. Kano's still a good character. They kind of bring him back and they know they're like, yeah, bring him back just because he's the best character in the first movie. But it's good. He's a good character. He's funny. All right, I don't really have much else to talk about here, so I'm going to talk about a little bit of spoilers. There's not really too much to spoil besides like character deaths and things like that. So, 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's get back into Cole Young. So I was looking at Cole Young. He shows up in this movie. He's not in the movie for too long, but when he's in the movie, he actually has more of a character where he talks about his family and kids and how he feels about leaving them behind to defend Earthrealm. And I like that stuff. They actually gave him more character in this movie compared to the first movie, because in the first movie it was boring. But the main spoiler with Cole Young is that he ends up going against Shao Kahn after he gets the amulet. And I'll talk about that too, but they end up charging the amulet. Shao Kahn gets infused with it and becomes immortal and has to fight against Cole Young in the Deadpool. And Cole Young thinks he's killed him. Shao Kahn heals and squishes his fucking head and throws him in the Deadpool. I loved it. Look, I know I enjoy Cole Young a lot more in this movie, but I loved when he died in this movie. And he seemed a lot more cool and powerful in this movie. Like, his actual ability is the way he absorbs damage and, like, pushes it back out, kind of like the Black Panther suit, is some cool stuff, but he just fucking dies. Shao Kahn just flattens his fucking head and he just thrown in the Deadpool. So, it was a surprise, but I really enjoyed that. But I will talk about the amulet too, because this is the other thing I kind of want to talk about with spoilers. I can't really talk about it when talking about the normal movie, because it's stuff you might not know when just watching the trailers, but they bring in a lot of things from like Mortal Kombat 4, like Quan Chi, and shit like that. Noob does show up in this movie as well. Noob's like, what's cool? Bi-Han coming back again is cool. But the main thing which is introduced from Mortal Kombat 4 is bringing Quan Chi in and the amulet, where the story is that Shang Tsung ends up basically jumping Raiden and managed to charge the amulet when attacking Raiden because his power charges the amulet, and that's what gives Shao Kahn his immortality until the amulet ends up getting broken, where Johnny Cage finds it and breaks it with the help from Kano and Scorpion. So yeah, but it's one of those things where the amulet and Quan Chi and shit, and even with Quan Chi, he resurrects a bunch of characters. Like, Kano's one of them, but he doesn't bother to actually make him a remnant. Is it a remnant? What do they call it? Fuck, word. Something like that. But Kung Lao and Sindel come back as, like, remnants. And they fight against the main characters. Where, because I think Sindel dies. They don't show Sindel dying, because they start with a flashback of Katana and Sindel and King Jared, where Shao Kahn kills King Jared and then he takes over the kingdom or whatever. But later in the movie, they show Sindel and she's become a remnant because of Quan Chi. And Sindel's wasted in this movie. I'm going to be honest. She shows up and fights against Sonya in the pit, or like at the bottom of the pit, and she just fucking dies and then gets resurrected again and is not seen again. So, cool. But, yeah, no, Kung Lao has a bit more of a reason, and he ends up dying to Liu Kang, but this movie's just enjoyable. I don't know what to say besides that, because at the end of the day, it's just a fucking action movie. There's not really too much plot. It takes a lot from the games by being about a tournament, and that's a good thing, because what you see is what you get. You watch the movie, it's enjoyable, there's some cool deaths, there's some cool fight scenes and stuff, and I like it because of that. Also, before I finish, Baraka's funny as fuck in this movie. I'm not a big fan of the voice or anything like that. Same goes for Shao Kahn. I'm not a fan of that voice either. But I like how after Johnny Cage ends up punching Baraka in the nuts and beating him in a fight, that Baraka obsesses over Johnny Cage. I love that shit, because it's actually really enjoyable to watch. But because I actually enjoyed this movie, there's not much to it. 7 out of 10. Oh boy, here's the big one, The Boys Season 5. I was going to make a whole separate video about The Boys Season 5 because there was a lot to talk about, but I feel like over time, since it's been a few weeks since it's ended, I don't have too much to say, which is kind of insane. I don't have that much to say about The Boys Season 5 anymore, but to put it lightly, it's just fucking disappointing. I don't hate it or anything, because like, I think the finale and like the first 2 episodes make up for it. The finale is still not great anyways, but the first 2 episodes are the best episodes in this season. But there's worse shit in season 4. Let's be fucking real. Like, I think the problem here, when you're watching The Boys Season 5, is things aren't developed, things aren't really brought to this whole scorched earth situation, and the pacing is terrible. The pacing is just all over the fucking place. Because the first 2 episodes of the show, things are moving along, and it's like, yeah, we're getting to a fucking conclusion. Homelander's getting more and more nuts and killing characters and shit. It's like, yeah, fuck it, this is what we want. Then after that, slows down to a halt. And it's like, huh, this is meant to be the final season of the show, and the advertising advertised it like it's going to be a scorched earth, where shit goes fucking nuts, but we don't see any of that shit. And that fucking sucks, because I really like Anthony Starr. Anthony or Anthony? I don't know. But anyways, I love him as Homelander in this show. And even in this final season, there are some generational fucking memes in this season. Jesus Christ. But how he plays the character is fan-fucking-tastic. Same goes for Carl Urban as Butcher too. Like, honestly, genuinely so fucking good. But the things that just happen in this show don't make fucking sense. Like, honestly, I think episodes 3 to 7, I can barely fucking remember them anymore. I know when I was watching them, I was kind of like, yeah, that's shit. And it's just like, it gets to a point where it's like, it halts too much from like episode 3 to like 5 or 6. And then after that, it just rushes too much and tries to get to a conclusion. It should have developed more and more from after the first 2 episodes, where Homelander just gets more and more fucked up, and more fucked up things happen. And also, this is mainly about the finale, because really, most of the things I got to talk about is the finale, because that's what I mainly remember. We should have seen Homelander killing people en masse. We should have seen that. I know before Butcher and shit come into the White House, Homelander's making an announcement and stuff where they're gonna cull the non-believers and all that. But it doesn't go further than that. It's there. That's what he starts to announce it, but nothing happens. There's a couple of people that brought into a room earlier to see. There was a test, and like the episode before was like a test to see if people will believe it or not. But like now, like they should have done this in the last episode, where the episode could have finished with Homelander just fucking killing people en masse and making people shit their fucking pants. And then Homelander could have taken over the White House when doing all that, instead of just like walking into the White House, killing the president, and just going, yeah, it happened. So it's just, yeah, it's fucking disappointing. And then you get to the final episode, there are some really good things in it. I love how Homelander dies. I know a lot of people are sulking and like, oh, that's not Homelander. Were you watching the same show? I gotta ask, like, with how Homelander dies and when he loses his powers and stuff, were you watching the same show? Like, this is how the character would act when they lose their powers in such a desperate situation. It was really good. I love that. But everything else surrounding it is just pathetic. Even the fight too is just like, as they're trying to make Homelander not escape, the only time he really tries to fly away is when Ryan gets him. Every other time he's just like, he doesn't really move much. But Homelander's actual death itself is like, I love that. And then it just like slows down. And then all of a sudden, it's like Butcher's disappeared to Vought Tower. And then you get the next scene where Huey catches up to him, and it's generally a good scene how Butcher dies. Like, it's generally good. But when Butcher's dead and they're at his grave, they start cracking jokes about, like, I understand like 1 or 2 jokes and whatever, but there's like sex jokes and shit. And it's like, is that really the time and place to do that? I don't know. I liked the finale overall because there are some satisfying things, especially with how the Deep dies. I kind of wish Annie got to beat the fuck out of him first, like completely before throwing him in, but I gotta say, it's kind of dumb how Annie just fucking takes him to the ocean. She doesn't know that he's been isolated from the ocean because of what he's done. She doesn't know any of that. She doesn't know what Samuel L. Jackson shark told him and whatever. She doesn't know that. So her taking the Deep to the ocean is dumb as fuck. But I still love the scene where he gets thrown to the ocean and just octopus tentacle just whoop, straight through. That's good. The one thing I want to ask is, where the fuck did the budget go? Like, visually things look okay, but where's all the fight scenes? Where's all these over the top things? I guess it ties into my whole Scorched Earth thing before. But you compare Spider-Noir to this, which had a $50 million budget per episode, which is a big budget, to this, it's insane. Like, this only has a $12 million budget per episode. Huh? Why? I gotta ask why. Why does it have a $12 million budget per episode? I think it's 11 to 15. But anyways, why does it have that budget per episode? why doesn't it have a similar budget to Spider-Noir per episode? You think they would invest more money into the show per episode, considering how well it's done? But here they don't do that, and it's like, what the fuck what have they done to the show? Because it's just the drop-off in quality just goes like that, pretty much. And as much as I don't like season 4, at least it has more going on than this season. It's just like, the whole show just feels like the budget's just been cut into a quarter. They have this full budget here, it's like 50 million per episode, and it's gone into a quarter. And it's like, huh. Sick. But look, I don't hate The Boys Season 5 as much as what everyone says they do. I don't hate it too much. I still was waiting for every episode per week. Did get a bit fucking rough. Around episode 6, I was contemplating watching the next fucking episode. But I think overall, because the first 2 episodes are good and I don't mind the finale, I've got to give it about like a 5 out of 10. The Mandalorian and Grogu, anybody? Has anybody even fucking watched this movie? I did. Why? It's a Star Wars movie, I guess. Anyways, The Mandalorian and Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau, basically has Din Djarin and Grogu working for the New Republic, trying to hunt down the Empire. That's really it. Actually, no, I kind of did lie about that, because at first, that's what the movie's about. Like, Din Djarin as Mando is working with the New Republic to like hunt down the Empire and whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's the best stuff in the movie is the stuff at the start where he's hunting down the Empire, taking down AT-ATs and all that shit. I like that. It was actually like, it started off well. I'm like, yeah, this is solid. I enjoy this. But after that, it gets into a whole story about finding Rod of the Hutt, and then it comes about the fucking Hutts and all this. And Rod of the Hutt sucks in Clone Wars. So do we really want to see him back in a movie? Fuck no. But hey, I don't want to live in my father's shadow. I'm my own man. I gotta say though, as much as I'm making fun of this movie, it's not that bad. It's just a waste of fucking time. Like, watching this movie, the whole plot is pointless. It feels like something that should have been like a Disney Plus special or something like that. Could have been its own season of The Mandalorian or something like that. Even it wouldn't have been a good season, but it could have just been its own thing. It could have been like The Punisher, One Time to Kill or whatever it's called it is. That came out recently, where it's like a special. Could have been a special on Disney Plus. But no. No. Look, we haven't had a theatrical Star Wars movie in 7 years, so they just thought, fuck it. Chuck it in the cinemas, why not? It's literally the Clone Wars all over again. I would not be surprised at all to find out if this movie was meant to be like a Disney Plus special or something like that, but was forced to be thrown in theaters just to make some like more amount of money, even though they're not. Like, I think this movie has made back its $165 million budget since it came out, but that's not including advertising or theater cuts or anything. So it's flopped. I don't know. It's just this whole movie, like, there's just things that happened. There's no real character progression throughout the movie. It just feels like a special or a show or something like that. Because, yeah, no characters develop. Nothing really moves along. Nothing progresses in this movie. And I like the start because it's actually some cool action scene where Mando's coming in and fucking up the Empire and whatever. It's enjoyable. It's good stuff. And then it slows down a bit when you get to Space Gotham, which I know it's where Rod of the Hutt's doing his cage matches and whatever. He's being held doing cage matches, and they end up in a city that literally looks like Matt Reeves' Gotham in the Batman, like one for one. There's a restaurant that Mando walks into to find the boss of the cage matches that looks exactly like the diner that the Riddler walks into when he gets caught by the police. It is jarring. Hey, maybe I'm too much of a fucking nerd, I don't know. But there's just, this movie's just pointless. And then, especially after the bad guy gets caught about halfway through the movie, like, Mando ends up capturing the guy that does the cage matches and everything and freeing Rod of the Hutt and stuff. It just slows down to a halt. You think, oh yeah, that's where the movie ends. It's like an hour in, it's like, yep, this is a conclusion, cool. But no. They have to drag it out. Rod of the Hutt gets taken to the other Hutts and gets tortured and whatever, and Mando gets kidnapped, so Grogu has to save Mando from the Hutts and whatever, and all of this, and it just drags so much. It's just, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. I think the more I talk about this movie, the less I like it. I originally gave it a 5 out of 10 because it was actually like, I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's another Star Wars movie. I was enjoying it. I'm like, yeah, it's another Star Wars movie. It's probably wouldn't watch it again, but like for what it is, it's okay. But I'm gonna be fucking real. It's not a 5 out of 10 anymore. It's gonna suck, but I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10. Anyways, that's what I watched in the month of May. If you want to see more things like this, I do want to do a monthly series where I actually actively seek out things to watch and talk about them in a month. I know some YouTuber does, I can't remember the name, but I don't know, I just thought it'd be fun. I thought it's something I want to do. I want to talk about certain things that I don't get the chance to talk about, like Obsession and Mortal Kombat 2. Especially Obsession, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about because holy damn, watch that movie. If you've not watched it, watch that movie. But anyways, let me know in the comments if you enjoy these videos anyways, because I want to do more stuff like this anyway. And also, before we go, check out my band single. It's in the description. It'll be on the screen too. But anyways, I'll see you on the next video.